starting out in the Cavs game, Golden State, um, the first thing that you're going to notice right off the bat is this is one of the tactics they use, is just blatant missed calls. As far as, like maybe even 50-50 calls, you can't tell who it went out on. There's at least 2 calls in this game specifically where the ball looked like it went out on Golden State, and the Cavs didn't get the ball. They gave it back to Golden State despite it looking like an obvious turnover on both of them was actually Kevin Durant. I mean, just starting out, we're going to notice that Durant throws the ball away here, but you're going to notice that they give it to. I mean, it's close. I'm not saying that it definitely didn't go out, but it looks for sure like it went out on Golden State. But the refs didn't even hesitate to call it Golden State ball. And also, you're notice right here is the way they set screens all game and the way they're allowed to get away with setting screens. Obviously, specifically because of the team's a 3-point shooting team, if they set screens and can get wide open layups and wide open threes, I mean, if that's the style brand of basketball that they want to play for their personnel, it's not just that, that's the way every team plays, threes and layups or whatever. But they have 2 guys specifically, Klay Thompson and Curry, especially. Curry can go off from 3 if he gets wide open looks. And everybody's game plan is to prevent him from getting wide open looks. And you'll see the way that they set screens starting out the game. But here's the first one. I mean, you'll notice this. They're going to show the replay. They're going to replay, and it looks almost obvious that it either goes out on Durant or Thompson. And then here again, we'll get Looney basically almost setting a moving screen on his own player, but he bumps Klay all the way basically back in Rodney Hood, and it gets him a shot here. So that's basically 2 points on the board already, where it should be 0-0 here with Cavs ball, but instead it's 2-0. And then Cleveland ends up going on a, I think, 12-0 run. But they'll end up coming back, as you'll see. Golden State with the help of the officials. And here again, you see a dribble handoff. I mean, on dribble handoffs, it used to be if you made contact off a dribble handoff, that's going to be automatic moving screen. Because you're in the path of the player. If you pass someone the ball, you're supposed to pass them the ball. And it mainly like stand still or kind of get out of the way of the offensive player to avoid contact. But, I mean, you see Looney clear contact with George Hill, and Curry gets a wide open shot here. Then we're going to come back again. Looney in transition is basically going to stop right in George Hill's path. He doesn't even set up for a screen. He just stops right in his path. Obvious moving screen violation. And like I said, none of these even lead to scoring. But when it end up happens is a cumulative effect of, getting Curry open. And eventually, obviously if he gets open enough, he's going to start hitting shots. And if they would have called those moving screens at the beginning, obviously it could have deterred, the moving screens later, which should have been called, which obviously would have deterred points. So they could have deterred moving screens and they could have deterred the points. Right now we're 2-0 of officiating basically for Golden State +2 off of possessions where they shouldn't even had the ball. And as you see that moving screen again, Curry wide open, bang, 3. So now we're 5-0. Now it's 5-12. Basically 5 officiating points for them. And here you're going to notice again, Tristan Thompson has basically a wide open advantage. Basically, he gets fouled by Durant, and they call the foul on Tristan Thompson against Durant. Durant had his arms basically over top of Tristan Thompson. Basically, the old school trick, hold down their arms so they can't jump for the rebound. I mean, Durant wasn't in good position, and Tristan Thompson did kind of try to bury him a little bit. But I mean, that's just physical play. But Durant had his arms tied up. Then we're going to come down again, and we're going to see Klay Thompson here travel. I don't know if this was the next possession or a little bit later, but Klay Thompson has the ball. He pivots off his foot towards the baseline, but then he doesn't dribble. He puts his other foot back down again. I mean, he turns all the way around to the opposite foot. Gets like basically a takeoff phase, like drive into the basket, and then to add insult to injury, he shuffled his feet on his jump stop, or just basically his gather to go up for the basket, shuffles his feet, and basically takes 3 steps again before he makes the layup. So now we're talking 7 points that was just basically gifted from officiating. Should have been a couple of turnovers. And then again, we're looking at George Hill goes in. It looks like obvious a foul from Looney, not called. And we're going to go down. And this one's pretty funny right here. I mean, that could have been 2 free throws when that end. If you want to keep track, we're basically at 7 points for Golden State, and could have been maybe -1 or 2 for the Cavs. So the Cavs could potentially be up 13-14-0, and Golden State's right in the game 7-12. But Kevin Durant's going to drive to the basket here, and it's basically hilarious because he drives to the basket, and like he gets like mad. He gets upset and starts yelling at the ref. I assume because he thinks, because I didn't see the defender do anything like crazy, like grab him or anything. But Durant like puts his head down and basically he's trying to get to the basket, try to generate some offense, and kind of drives into him. And I think what he's thinking, because he can't see the ref, is he's thinking that because the ref's calling a block when it wasn't really a block. I mean, the dude had position. Durant was just trying to use his body and put his shoulder down to create some space. And Durant, I think, is mad because he thinks this is going to be a charge call. Which, I mean, it could have been a charge call. It could have definitely been a charge call. It would have been soft, but, you know, it would have been a decent, okay call. But Durant turns around, like, angry. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure that he's angry because he thinks it was about to be a foul on him. And then he kind of looks like, oh. And then we got another moving screen here, and Durant gets wide open from the elbow. Bangs it. So we're talking 9 points already, which should have been turnovers. Heck, the Cavs might have even been in the bonus by now. And we're going to have a post up by Thompson. And this is how you're going to notice that the NBA could influence games for big men totally. Like, if you want to know why there's not dominant big men, or why teams don't throw it down to the post even if they just had an average big man, or just a guy like Tristan Thompson who could score inside, it's because, I mean, as you can see right here, Kevin Looney, I think his name's Kevin Looney. I know his last name's Looney, but leans on him from the very time he gets the ball. He's leaning on him. I mean, this usually be automatic fouls for big guys, and then he's leaning all the way over top of him, has his hands all over him, and then Thompson tries to go for the jump hook. I mean, he's all in his face, all up in his body. Doesn't give him any room. He's obviously not straight up. He's walking into his body. And Thompson could have free throws there. They could have another foul. I'm pretty sure Looney was already in foul trouble at that point. But instead, Golden State comes right back down, and we're talking like already like 11 points basically gifted to him. And we got another one. I don't really know if this is even contact. I added it in there. I can't really see from the angle. But it was potentially could have been an and one. But I mean, obviously, you're talking about 11 points already. When it could, at this point, it's 14-11. It could be very easily 20-0. It could be. I mean, it could be like 21 something to maybe like 8 or something. Maybe, depending if Golden State called a timeout and try to get something going. But instead, it's 14-11. And, you know, it's just kind of crazy. And here we want to see Curry basically push off, and then Thompson said, I mean, I guess you call it a screen. I mean, it's basically, if it's football, I guess that's a block. And then Curry's going to get wide open again, and he misses this one again, obviously. But if you're giving Curry wide open look, I mean, eventually he's going to get a rhythm, and it's going to be over for your team. I mean, you cannot compete with Stephen Curry, one of the greatest shooters of all time, being allowed to set moving screens so he can get wide shots. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster for any team, but obviously the other team can't do anything. Well, you can do something. You could just do what Houston did last year, which is actually like impeccable communication skills and like switching on like a dime, like perfect switching. So that basically their screens don't even matter because you're switching everything. At least it's like a zone. And that's what Houston did to them last year in the playoffs. But that's really, really, really hard to do that's really hard to, like, because your communication has to be there. Your switching has to be there. You have to be able to handle all those mismatches that they're going to get with, Durant last year it was on CP3 and they handled it. But, you know, here's another one. He steps right into his path right there. And then we get another wide open lane. It should have been a foul on Thompson there, but I think the refs just like, let it go. And then we'll get another one here. like a pretty egregious one. He basically falls all the way into his body. Should have been an obvious moving screen. Instead, we got Curry, showtime, wide open shot. I mean, it was 20 to 14 there, so I brought him like within 3 or something like that. But again, here's another one out of bounds. And again, I should have been out on Durant. I'm pretty sure, but they gave Golden State obviously the benefit of the doubt. Golden State's still losing here. Like, we had all that officiating help, and the Cavs, like I said, the Cavs could have been up by a lot. I mean, the Cavs are in a bonus at this point, so I mean, a couple of those fouls would have been free throws eventually, but instead you get Curry 3. So now you're talking, I think it was like 11 or 12 points, now 13, 14, 15 something points that was just gifted to him. Here's an interesting one right here. Colin Sexton beats Curry off the dribble here, but I never seen this actually before. But watch Golden State's players here. This is what's fishy, because watch what I think Jarevko and I think it would be Bell, like neither one of them is guarding. They're both secondary defenders, but they basically take out the two most important players like in transition. Your center, who needs to go back and get back and protect the rim, and your point guard, who needs to stop the ball. They basically took both of them like out, like almost on purpose. Like you can see, like they're basically like boxing them in to the baseline, and it gives it basically a 3-on. It's basically 3-on-3, but you're talking you're talking about Durant, Curry, and Livingston versus like forwards and like one guard, or basically the guards, but no big man back. Your point guard isn't back, and it gets an easy layup again. But I mean, this is actually a really good example, or maybe not the greatest example, just depending on how you want to look at it, because there's obviously games where one team is favored to win, and the refs, but they're the better team, and you would expect that to be the case here, because Warriors are. I mean, I don't even know if it's a debate. The Cavs are one of the worst teams in the East. Warriors are one of the better teams in the entire NBA, obviously. So, I mean, you'd expect the Warriors to just run away with this, and usually in games like this, you won't see anything. So it's actually surprising that, the Cavs kind of came out to play. And that's another thing that you can notice is at the beginning of a lot of games, the refs will just kind of feel it. But in games like this, or games just like evenly matched teams, but one team might be favored because of their popularity, it could be a playoff series or something like that. What you'll notice is they'll kind of fill the game out, and if the other team is playing like crazy, then they'll start doing stuff. But where it could be a potentially where the favorite team maybe isn't as good, sometimes the entire game. But I mean, the first quarters and the third quarters tend to be the ones to watch out for. A lot of people like to look in at the fourth. At the end of the game, you might get a couple calls that end up being missed. But sometimes what they like to do is at the beginning of the game, get it before when people's not really watching, because people don't really watch entire games usually. Usually you're late to watch the game, or you might catch the very beginning, but then you start doing stuff. Or you show up to the game, basically show up late and catch, maybe a little bit of the, first half, but then you try to catch the second half or the end of the game. So the first quarter and the third quarters, I've noticed sometimes are the quarters, but I mean, they could do it really whenever they want, obviously. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this. And like I said, it's not going to be this game is a good example, like I said, because, one, it's not expected. Two, it kind of gives the vibe of some of the games, because if you watch like some of the playoff games, like the Pacers versus the Cavs, where the Cavs were basically just a whole bunch of role players in LeBron, and the Pacers just came out. Oladipo wanted to play well, Miles Turner wanted to play well, Lance Stevenson obviously is one of the most competitive dudes in the NBA, Thad Young, Nate McMillan's a good coach. I mean, they came out firing, and in that game, like in that series especially, you could notice a lot. And obviously the Houston series versus Golden State last year, you could notice, I mean, game 7, 6 and 7, maybe even, really throughout the entire series, you could notice favoritism towards Golden State in that series. I mean, that was blatantly. But in this one, like, you wouldn't even expect the Cavs to even play well, and you can notice stuff, which is why I think it's kind of a good example. But